Anna Wintour's in a personal brand era, leave Aubrey Plaza alone, and the irony of the Tradwife movement.
I'm Maggie Zhao.
And I'm Jasmine Wallace.
And you're listening to Culture Club, where two writers and editors talk pop culture, current affairs, the internet, and our lives.
Today we're on the lands of the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people of the Kulin Nations.
We would like to pay our respects to elders past and present and extend this to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander listeners today. This week has felt like a long week, but in the best way ever. I've been out like every night at the Melbourne International Comedy Fest.
I feel like the Melbourne Comedy Fest is like almost a fashion week for you, but especially Tom.
We actually call it Tom's Fashion Week. Yeah, every year we see a lot of shows. I think I probably clocked 8 shows last year. This year it's 9 and counting.
So impressive. And this is not like gifted media, like you're paying for the tickets.
I'm paying for
the
customer. Ticket. I love it so much. I think there's something so wonderful about being in a room with strangers, sitting down for an hour, often not knowing what you're going to get, and then like hearing somebody's story, somebody's jokes, like somebody on stage doing what they love. I think it's very like, oh my God, can I compare it to the astronauts? It's very Artemis.
Artemis 2.
You've been loving the astronauts this week, haven't you?
I have. When they first launched, I was like, guys, we have enough going on. Like, do we need to do this? Obviously, they would have been like working towards it for years and years and years. But I kind of was like, oh, that's cool anyway. And then as they've like gone on their journey, like they've been sending the photos back down, I've been getting more and more invested. And I just think it's such a beautiful moment of humanity and like human progress, space exploration, etc. And I think with Project Hail Mary coming out at the same time, it almost feels like a Barbenheimer moment again in a better way, like not in a marketing way, especially like where we are at the moment in the world. It's like a nice heartwarming moment of humanity and like we can imagine a better world.
Yeah, and especially like a nice palate cleanser after last year's Katy Perry, etc. Space exploration exhibition, whatever you want to call it. This is like a good reminder that, hey, space travel is for astronauts and people in STEM and people who work their ass off their whole lives are like dedicated to this.
And also the women element of it as well. So last time that the Americans went to the moon, like women couldn't have their own credit card, they couldn't buy a house, etc. And now there are so many women on this team. There is a woman in space at the like looking at the moon. So I think
looking at the moon.
Looking at the moon. Like, that's their mission, right? It's like to like get the information about the moon for the first time in like 50 years or something. Sorry, this is so not research.
No, I love it.
Yeah, I think that's a lovely element as well of like we are making progress as a society, even though it sometimes feels like we are going backwards. I'm also going to Comedy Fest. I bought tickets for Laurie. His birthday's on Saturday. And so we are going to see Chloe Petts perform as well, who you saw.
Yes, I love Chloe Petts. She's such a funny UK comedian, like does a lot of sports, like, specifically like soccer, football, reporting. So charismatic, so funny. You're going to have like such a good time.
And that's also why I got tickets for Laurie, because I was like, British, soccer, sport, comedy, let's go.
Something I saw on your Instagram story this week made me stop in my tracks. Can you tell us about what has happened to the Man Repeller Instagram page?
I also stopped in my tracks when I was scrolling because I saw this crappy, clearly AI-generated like post with 4 female white actresses on the cover. And it was like, these 4 actresses look the same. I think that's a common AI like clickbaity thing that goes around a lot. And it's always like Margot Robbie and Samara Weaving and stuff. I was like, why am I following this page? Like I would never follow an AI slot page like this. And I click into it and it's fucking Repeller. They rebranded from Man Repeller, post-2020 racism allegations and like bullying in the workplace. We did a whole episode on that like at the time it came out. So go back through our archives if you want the lowdown. But they rebranded to Repeller. They tried to make that work. It just didn't work and the account went dead. And now it's been bought or taken over somehow by this AI slop.
And it is so bad. For reference, I'm looking at their page right now. Some of the headlines, if you want to call it, I'll read out. So for instance, man couldn't afford a diamond ring, so he proposed with a tiny kitten instead. Another one, like a couple actually dressed as Shrek and Fiona for their dream fantasy wedding. Like the most random things. And guys, I actually enjoy scrolling on Facebook, but this is the stuff I would see on my Facebook.
You enjoy that though on Facebook?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's like my guilty like pleasure social media. I don't love it, but I find myself scrolling on Facebook sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, it's such slop. And the Repeller description has now changed to news and memes. So it's got 2.2 million followers because it used to be the iconic 2010s independent women's media company, Man Repeller. And I just feel like this is such a representation of the state of media at the moment.
Tell me about it, because the founder of Repeller, Leandra Medine, she came across my like social media this week because she's actually working with Zara. And for those of you who don't know, Leandra was at the forefront of like fashion blogging, more than blogging, but she was one of the pioneers of that like New York City influencer fashion scene. She did face her own controversies around 2020. I hadn't seen much of her.
Leandra kind of went quiet after the 2020 allegations. It was pretty dramatic at the time. And she then started her own Substack called The Cereal Aisle, which is like a fashion newsletter. It's very Man Repeller, very Leandra Medine. And now through that, she's kind of in this like other part of her career. She still is very, very popular, still has millions of followers. Like it's a very popular fashion Substack. And now she's collaborated with Zara, which I'm not surprised by. Are you?
Well, I never followed her that closely, but I think she was such a like pioneer or advocate for personal style, and she's got quite like quirky personal style. So to see her collaborate with this very mainstream fast fashion conglomerate was like a bit surprising, especially because they did proper like big photo shoots, and she's kind of like talent in Zara's marketing, not just like, oh, she's doing an Instagram like sponsored post with them. It's gone a step beyond that. There's also a like Leandra Medine Cohen edit on Zara. So yeah, I just feel like for me, the reason why I wanted to bring it up as well is like it just feels like this highlights the state of like the fashion scene at the moment, where a lot of the big like innovators in the space are kind of just like working with every single fast fashion brand. And it's like, can we be surprised by it anymore?
The thing with Man Repeller, though, is that they've always been that way. They've done collaborations in the past. Like we know how hard media can be of like making money, working with advertisers. So this isn't anything new, I think, for Leandra to collaborate with brands like The Gap or COS, places like that. I think it's just a new era for the cereal aisle.
This is kind of similar, but I want to talk about the whole Anna Wintour, Meryl Streep crossover that we've been seeing for the Devil Wears Prada 2 promo. So Vogue's May issue sees Anna Wintour on the cover with Meryl Streep. Like this has never happened before.
No, Anna has been on other industry titles, but she's never been on her own cover. And actually, Chloe Mal, who is the new editorial director at Vogue, was the one who pitched the idea to Anna Wintour in the back of a car, like very Devil Wears Prada. And apparently Anna, this is according to The Guardian, Anna was like, no, I'm not going to do that. Yeah. Like, I'm not the talent. And then it was Meryl Streep who was the one who like convinced her.
Oh, I love that. I would do anything Meryl Streep tells me.
Oh, me too.
I have seen mixed opinions about this. My own gut reaction is like, oh, I don't really like it. I feel like it's a bit like cheesy and cringy. The cover's cool. It's like them both sitting down and the text reads, seeing double when Miranda met Anna. But it just felt like so self-referential that like we didn't need it so explicitly. Like we all know that Anna Wintour is like the inspiration for Miranda Priestley's character. And I just feel like it was just a bit much.
The funny thing is, though, that Anna Wintour rejected the comparison of Miranda Priestley when the movie first came out and the book first came out in 2006. So the rumor is, or it's not even a rumor, it's true, that the author of The Devil Wears Prada by Lauren Weisberger, she worked as an assistant to Anna Wintour at Vogue and then went on to write this book. And at the time, Anna was like, who even is that girl? Like after it came out, that was kind of the attitude of it. Yeah. The fashion world didn't even want to dress the characters. They were definitely like rejecting this kind of like Disney-ish movie. And now, 20 years on, how the tables have turned. I think it's fascinating to look at that of like how brands have power, how corporations have power over like these creative fashion editorial types now.
Your point there is so interesting because you're right. When the first film was coming out, like the costuming department struggled to get getting items loaned from fashion houses. But on the cover of this Vogue, of course, Anna Wintour and Meryl Streep are both wearing Prada.
In the Guardian article that I read, they spoke with Mark Bukowski, who is a press consultant and an author. And Mark suggested that Anna Wintour on the cover and kind of like embracing the Miranda Priestly comparison is part of a new beginning to separate Anna from the Vogue brand, because we know that she is leaving Vogue.
Maybe like less separating from her and the brand, but removing her from back of like behind the scenes to being in front. Because like I feel like this is still really identifying her with Vogue, but it's like a different role now.
Well, it's like she's talent now.
Yeah.
The employee-generated content like really comes to everyone, including Anna Wintour.
Oh my God. It's a matter of time before she fronts a TikTok. The Hannah Montana of the publishing industry has been unwigged. Freida McFadden, the author of domestic thrillers like The Housemaid, has publicly come out with her real identity. Number one, did you even know that this was a fake name?
I haven't read The Housemaid. This is the one that got made into the movie with Sydney Sweeney and Amanda Seyfried. I haven't read it, so I didn't know that this was a pseudonym. I didn't know that there was mystery around this. But when I saw it, I was like, this is amazing.
This is amazing because sometimes when you hear of authors using pseudonyms, sometimes it's like a woman having to use like a male name just to kind of overcome some of the hurdles that come with being a woman writer. But I feel like this author has come out on top. So her real name is Sarah Cohen, and she is a doctor who treats brain disorders.
That's incredible.
I would say that I would think that you'd use a pseudonym if you're like ashamed of your identity. Whereas this is like the opposite, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So why did she use a pseudonym?
So Sarah said that she only created the pseudonym because she didn't want her writing career to conflict with her hospital job. So there's a quote that she gave to USA Today. She said, "I'm at a point in my career when I'm tired of this being a secret. I'm tired of people debating if I'm a real person or if I'm three men. I am a real person and I have a real identity and I don't have anything to hide." So she wanted to keep this a secret until she was ready to step back from her doctor job. And in late 2023, she stopped working full time. So now she's just working her doctor shifts once or twice a month, she says.
What a legend. Like, who has the time to write a book and be a doctor? Like, that's so impressive.
Multiple books as well, especially like to the level of being such a best-selling author and such a beloved author like herself.
I also saw a headline this week about her wig. And she said in an interview with USA Today, she wears a wig when she's at public appearances, not because she's trying to hide who she is, but because she has no idea how to style her hair.
That was a straight quote she gave, and I think that is just so endearing. Other publications have talked about the fact that she wears like these rectangle glasses, and they're like, it might look like a disguise, but she actually wears glasses.
Sarah says she still plans to use Freida McFadden, even though her identity is now out in the open. But now we know.
We love that for you, Sarah.
Aubrey Plaza is pregnant and expecting her first child with the actor Christopher Abbott.
Yeah, this was big news that broke this week that you can imagine garnered some mixed and very unsympathetic responses. So for those who might not remember, just over a year ago, back in January of last year, her husband, screenwriter and director Jeff Boehner, died by suicide. According to documents from TMZ, though, the couple had been separated since September 2024.
That was obviously really tragic news, and Aubrey did talk about it on the Good Hang podcast with Amy Poehler, and she talks really endearingly and beautifully about grief, I think, and I am so happy for her. with this. And it makes me really sad, all of the negativity around it, especially because even if they hadn't split up, she's 41, first of all. Obviously, there is a biological clock that women have. Second of all, men do not get the same treatment at all. Did you know there's actually a phenomenon where husbands and partners of women who are terminally sick have higher rates of divorce and leaving their wives when they're sick? Like before they've even passed, they're already like out the door because like they can't cope with like caregiving and like they just don't want to do that. So I think for people to kind of say like, oh, Aubrey's not like respecting his memory or whatever, when like that's what, not all men, but like that's what men can do. There's actual studies to back this up as well.
Completely. It's more likely for a man to do this. I've seen this study where in the first year after a spouse's death, 54% of men have a sexual relationship compared with 7% of women. And we're not trying to shame anyone in that equation. Anyone, you can do what you like, but it is more likely that a man would, quote unquote, move on faster. I was very disappointed at news.com.au's headline about this. This was the headline for this story. Star pregnant 15 months after hubby's death.
The hubby is pretty loaded there.
Completely. I think so too. And I think they know exactly what they're doing.
Let's talk about Christopher Abbott. He's also an actor. He was in Girls. That's what I know him from.
Well, this is the thing, because I was like, this man looks so familiar to me. And a lot of the other publications are talking about his more recent projects. So, for instance, he's on Broadway at the moment in Death of a Salesman. He was also in Poor Things, The Testament of Anne Lee, and Wolfman. So he's busy. But he's Charlie in Girls.
Yeah. Marnie's boyfriend in the first season.
Yeah. I don't know if he comes back. Don't.
Okay, I won't.
I'm in season 2.
No spoilers.
Yeah. And I feel like it's really nice to see this pair kind of connect. So Aubrey and Christopher have worked together a couple times. One was the off-Broadway revival of Danny and the Deep Blue Sea, and also the 2020 film Black Bear.
I wish her nothing but happiness. I think to go through what she's gone through would be horrific, and she deserves happiness. Leave Aubrey alone.
In this week's segment of Culture Shock, we're talking about YouTuber and content creator Elena Taber, who has been caught posting a Reddit thread about herself. Let's talk about Elena, because we both follow her.
We do. I've followed her for years. I like her content. She's a US creator, isn't she?
Yes. She has lived a lot of places overseas, notably Paris. She's known for her travel, lifestyle, even like money and fashion content. She has she covers a lot of ground.
Yes. And she's also now dating Stranger Things actor Jamie Campbell Bower.
Yeah, who plays Vecna. Is wild. Seeing that drop, like when their relationship was announced, really did take me back, because I'm like, this is a girl I've watched on YouTube for maybe like from a decade ago. Anything can happen.
So Elena posted in the famous New York City Influencersnark Reddit thread, which we've spoken about in the podcast before. It's famously mean. Like famously, people will like rip influencers to shreds in that thread.
The word snark is like so intense, hey?
Yeah, like there's been articles written about this thread. It's huge. So under a post titled Elena Taber Updates, she wrote, "This relationship isn't new news, but I need someone to talk about this with, lol. I haven't kept up with her as much, but she used to be one of my favorites back in the day, and I keep seeing her pop up with Jamie Campbell Bower, and it's so crazy to me. I loved her vibe alongside Moya Mawini and Margot Lee and those girls who seemed cool and kind, etc. She seemed to be one of the few influencers who at least attempted a level of more research, interesting content like the history lessons or the financial education, or just traveling to more unique parts of the world and showing the culture by connecting with locals."
She continues writing, "Even if a bit pseudo-intellectual sometimes, I really appreciated that there was more substance than so many of the other New York City consumerism final boss influencers I follow. I kind of stopped keeping up as much when she left NYC for Paris, but she doesn't seem to post as much and maybe has gone more private because of her relationship. It's insane seeing so much unhinged hate she gets for just existing and dating someone famous. I saw this TikTok recently and I'm like, damn, this would suck, lol." That TikTok in question was like about How bad would it be like to date a celebrity? This is how she got caught out, people. Because when you share a TikTok while you're linked to an account, while you're logged into your account, it comes up with like a pop-up banner when the other person receives it being like, do you want to follow blah, 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 blah. Or like, this was sent to you by blah, 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 blah. And it was her account.
Oh, this is brutally embarrassing.
This is a really tough read, and I was cringing so hard because it would absolutely suck finding out that the rest of the world knew that you wrote this about yourself.
Allegedly, some users as well figured out that Elena was not only posting on Reddit about herself, but also allegedly joining in on snarky conversations around other rival influencers. So why did we want to talk about this? Because I know it's not really our style to be like gossipy podcasts, like influencer stuff, but we both have followed her for a long time. I think it's really interesting just how even the most like cool girl, lovely people can get swept up in the like mess of the influencer world. And like, despite being like very successful and dating a celebrity, an actor, having brand deals, etc., there is still that underlying like insecurity clearly. And it was a culture shock for me because I was like, this is emblematic of like a deeper, like there's so many things, like a deeper issue of like how people see themselves, like self-esteem, how like imposter syndrome maybe, and even the snark pages on Reddit, like that culture might have made her think in this way. And she wants to like really, really know what people think to the point that she's like posting it about herself.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this just really shows the depth of the influencer trap, the comparison trap, where you're feeling like unworthy or you're always fighting for attention. I would have said, if you'd asked me before this happened, I'd be like, oh yeah, she's probably at the top of her game at the moment. Like she, on the outside, looks like she's living like the best life she has ever lived. And when the reality sees her in other threads being mean about people who are supposedly her friends in the industry, and then having to post something like this about yourself to try drive up like engagement or just interest in your own life, I think it hurt me to read it. Like it made me uncomfortable, if that makes sense.
Or did it make you feel empathetic for her of like, oh, this is embarrassing?
Yeah, it was mainly that like embarrassment factor, that obviously she's someone who cares deeply about what other people think about her. So for this to be outed in this way, like that would hurt doubly.
Have you ever searched on Reddit for yourself?
Yeah, and I'll admit it. And I have. I think I wouldn't even just put it down to Reddit. Like it's hard to kind of, I'm thinking like where else I might have done activity like, and I never would have posted anything. I haven't posted anything about myself, but it's like in our job where we're managing our personal social media accounts as well as Culture Club, I will actually look at our accounts and like check for comments or reviews and stuff every single day. And that feeds into this mentality. I just got to, sometimes it is checking to make sure like, low-key, like there's not a racist comment there or something problematic we need to delete. But my brain is tuned into being like, oh, like have we like increased in the podcast charts? Oh, have we like hit a new follower milestone? But I'm like thinking about this very regularly. Is that similar?
I feel like that's like analytics of social media. But have you ever like searched yourself in like a what do people really think of me way?
I've looked up my name.
On
Nothing
Reddit.
came up.
Yeah.
Culture Club was nicely recommended a few times on Reddit though.
In nice threads.
In nice threads, being like podcast recommendations like that. What about yourself? Have you?
I've looked up Culture Club.
Okay. Yeah.
Not my name. Not famous enough for that. Not on Reddit.
Well, nothing came up for me, so I was like, oh my God, loser. Someone snark it. No, don't.
No, don't.
No, don't.
You would cry if
Yeah,
someone
I'd
actually
cry.
did that
Yeah.
though. I think if there is a human nature element of it as well. It's natural and normal to wonder what people think about you. I'm working very hard at the moment to be seen. So like we are doing video on YouTube and social media at the moment. And I'm so used to just having our like safe space of the podcast audio, bit of social media stuff, but like having your voice in your face on YouTube and stuff, that's like a real stretch for me in my comfort zone at the moment. And you do think like, I'm sure majority of people like don't care, but you just think it just adds that other layer of like, am I being perceived correctly? Am I being perceived the way I want to be? So if you have like hundreds of thousands or millions of followers, I can imagine it's a whole other anxiety if you're like a naturally anxious person as well.
So despite the fact that people listening to this, even us in our chairs, that has not done what Elena has done, I think we can all relate to it in at least a micro way of that fear, of that insecurity, of that like want to be perceived in a way that you want to be. So I hope after all this backlash, Elena can hopefully just continue to live her best life and worry less about what is being said on the internet.
Is the Tradwife trend dying down, or has it reached a new level of normalcy? We've touched on the Tradwife trend a few times over the years, but if you weren't across, it is essentially an internet trend and a societal shift that's taken place in the post-pandemic years of the 2020s. From baking bread and making food from scratch to promoting heteronormative traditional values, the Tradwife is a response to right-wing politics swinging back into power and wanting a sense of control in this increasingly unstable world. One of the most famous faces of the Tradwife movement has definitely been Nara Smith.
Yes, and Tradwife stands for traditional wife as well, in case you didn't know. So Nara Smith is only 24 years old. She's married to model Lucky Blue Smith, who is a Mormon. Together they have 4 children, and her posts, you would have been familiar with them. She speaks in like this whisper-like ASMR, and then she's the one who's making things from scratch, but like to such an extreme point. She's like making like chewing gum from scratch, you know? And she's always like so beautiful, and every pose she's in, it's like meticulous and perfect, and it's all made to look that way. It's all
curated.
Yeah.
So last July, Nara was a guest on Jay Shetty's podcast On Purpose, where she actually rejected being the face of the Tradwife trend. The interview took place last July, but now one ex-user, Chidima, has brought it back up, and it sparked this new wave of discussions. We'll play the clip here.
They use me as this poster child of this like very traditional wife, and I'm not. There's nothing truly traditional about us as a couple, apart from maybe that we chose to have kids young and get married young. But apart from that, we split chores 50-50. There's things that Lucky does that I guess traditional men wouldn't do, like do the dishes or get the kids dressed. And there's things that I do, like having a full-time career and having Lucky be home watching the children while I travel for 2 weeks.
It's interesting to see her speak out about this, because famously she's quite docile in her content that she chooses to put out. So for her to be like taking a stance, also even saying that, you know, her husband does half of the chores. I'm like, mate, how are we supposed to know that? You don't show that. I'm not in your house.
Australian, mate. Mate, how are you supposed to show that? So Nara Smith is accusing people of projecting onto her, but then she's the one who's projecting, and she has this curated image that she has heavily monetized. Like, they are so wealthy. Yes, Lucky Blue was a model, but, you know, she is really like making the money here now. One ex-user, the Noah's Letter, said her full-time job is selling the fantasy of being a tradwife, having 100 kids and doting on them 24/7, being submissive to a husband and looking gorgeous while she does it. It's the same thing no matter how she tries to spin it.
What I find interesting is that I remember last year there was a massive wave of her content, but also like copycat similar types of accounts. And we were seeing a lot of this. I feel like my For You page isn't serving me much of this or even discourse around this as much. And I do wonder, like, is it that this content is just becoming more normalized in our feeds, and it's a kind of just being softened as well? Because hers was so exaggerated, and like it was almost like a skit. I read them as a skit, but I was like, no, I think she's being legit as well. It is interesting to see that this clip in particular has come about again when perhaps her popularity is like declining or her relevancy isn't as high.
I also think it's interesting in that podcast, she uses her normal speaking voice, which I think shows that she is playing an exaggerated character on TikTok. People are also calling out the irony of these super successful tradwives. So off the top of our heads, you have someone like Erica Kirk, who is Charlie Kirk's widow and spouts this like traditional values, like the family is everything, like be a great mother, etc., etc. And she is now like the CEO of this company, and she had kids and got married after the age of 30. But Turning Point, which is like the organization that they run, it was going around to like colleges, etc., like telling young women in their early, like 20-year-olds to like get married, and like that is the best thing you can do in this life, and like linking religion to it as well. So that's, you know, one example. And of course, Nara Smith, now a multi-millionaire businesswoman, brand deals on Jay Shetty's podcast.
It's very clear that these women are profiting off the ideas and the visuals of being a trad wife, not necessarily like living that out for themselves, because being a full-time homemaker as well as being a full-time businesswoman is a very difficult reality that they would find themselves in. And obviously we don't know what's happening inside Erica Kirk and Nara Smith's home, but I'm assuming they have help. They have hired help and staff to help them, quote unquote, have it all.
Now that the modern tradwife has been in the zeitgeist for a couple of years, we are now seeing like further explorations of the phenomenon. So one of the most highly talked about books of the year is Yesteryear, and it's by debut author Caro Claire Burke. Caro is the co-host of Diabolical Lies, which is a politics and culture podcast, alongside a fellow author, Katie Gatti Tassin.
This book sounds amazing. It's out in April, and it follows this protagonist, Natalie, who becomes a tradwife social media influencer, and she like operates a farm where she raises chickens and bakes bread before an audience of millions. It's very much giving Ballerina Farm. But what happens in the book is that Natalie wakes up in a strange version of reality, like her home, her family, they're there, but something's off. It feels like she could be in a different like parallel universe. Is it a hoax? Is it a test from God? Like, who knows? I think this is such an interesting premise, and I can't wait to read it.
I was scratching around for an arc this week. I was like, who has HarperCollins email? Like
that's why
messaging Eilish, who I saw she posted on her socials. I was like, where is this book? Because it's not out until like April 28th. It sounds so good. Anne Hathaway has already signed on to star in and produce the film adaptation.
Wow. So this book is getting so much hype, and Caro, the author, told ELLE US that, quote, the figure of the tradwife sits at the intersection of everything about womanhood that interests me, even before I became interested in feminist theory or politics or culture, far before I was doing a podcast about it.
Caro also notes that this is a particularly poignant time to write a book about the tradwife, which we agree with, hence why we're doing this segment. She said, because there are so many women who want to talk about this now with the secret lives of Mormon wives. The conversation is endless, and it's a fascinating social experiment to see just how many women force and contort themselves to try to fit into a lifestyle that is fundamentally unnatural, even though it is billed as fundamentally natural.
Oh, I love that end quote. That is so true.
We have seen the criticism and analysis of tradwives in the movie The Stepford Wives. Have you seen that?
No.
So good. That's like 20-ish years old, and it's like Nicole Kidman's character like goes to this like world. It's kind of like Don't Worry, Darling.
Yes, yeah.
Goes to this world, and like everything is not what it seems, and they're all tradwives in the 50s like going to the supermarket. So there has been some like satire made about this topic, because I think it is a really like interesting topic, and now we're in this new phase in the 2020s of marriage and heteronormativity and the tradwife. So I'm very excited to read Yesteryear, and let's see where Nara Smith and co go as people are rejecting the tradwife a bit further. Now it's time for Bookmarked, where we share something we've loved watching, reading, or listening to. Maggie, what do you have for us this week?
I have a movie recommendation. I'm recommending the film I Swear, which came out last year. So this is a British biographical drama film about a Tourette's advocate, and he follows his life. So it's based on the true story of John Davidson. So he's a British man who has had Tourette's since he was a child. This movie was just such a moving and important film. It was directed, written and produced by Kirk Jones. So John grew up with Tourette syndrome and he was born in the 1970s. So you can imagine like awareness was literally on the floor. And this movie really follows him in his family dynamic, how he navigates school, how he navigates like friendships with Tourette's. I think this was really like sensitively done. I think it was very honest and it could be quite confronting at times, but it was always treated with like compassion. I think they did this so well because it definitely didn't like infantilize him, or it wasn't like being patronizing.
Patronizing, yeah.
And it definitely wasn't. I think it was a very like honest portrayal of Tourette's, and I think it's a very poignant time, of course, because during the Golden Globes, when we had the Tourette's incident with a man yelling out the N-word.
It was John, wasn't it?
It was John.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's the thing. This film doesn't shy away from the fact that tics can come about contextually, right? So people were like pointing that out during the Golden Globes, but this is part of the reality of Tourette's. It was so emotional and just also a visually beautiful film, very funny and light in parts as well. And I'd really recommend it.
Did you watch it at the cinema?
Mm-hmm. I went to the cinemas to watch this one and I would recommend that.
Yeah, so it's still out because I thought, if it's come out last year. Yeah, I'm keen to watch it. I just have one of those there's been so many good movies this season that I feel like I can't keep up with all the movies. So it's definitely on my list.
And now it's time for your recommendation, Jazz.
I'm recommending Lost Lambs, which is a novel by Madeline Cash.
We put this in our books to read for this year, our episode about like our most excited books of 2026.
Of course, yeah. And you actually brought it to the table.
Yeah.
And I read it first.
I haven't read it. I haven't cracked it open yet. Ooh.
But you will, because our book club is going to do it this month. Yes. And I was like, great, I'm ahead of the homework. This never happens. So Lost Lamb is a very timely American novel. It follows the three Flynn sisters, Abigail, the eldest, Louise, the middle, and Harper is the youngest. Their parents' marriage is failing. They're trying to open the marriage. The kids are all teenagers as well. So the eldest is like about to finish high school. I thought it was a very heartwarming and human story, but it also touches on a lot of themes that we are living through at the moment. So it touches on billionaires, conspiracy theories, class, and religion as well. So all of those are intertwined, but like throughout there is the core of this like lovable but odd family. And at first you're like, I'm not going to relate to them. Like this sounds very American, but I think Madeline is such a great writer that she definitely like gets to the heart of the characters, and you end up feeling like a sense of like maternal instinct or like some sort of care for them, which is, you know, hard to do. And she also is a very funny writer. So there are times where I was like laugh out loud, but it's not. It's like a drama comedy, I guess. This book has already been picked up by A24, so it will be getting made into a series or a movie, which is exciting. But this is Madeline's debut book. Wow. I think she's about my age. So pretty crazy like launch month for her. I really recommend it. Yes, it is very American. And I think one of the things in our book club where like we definitely try to un-Americanize our culture sometimes, or what we're consuming, because it's very easy to do so in Australia. We're so highly influenced by the US, but I think it's definitely worth a read. So I'm excited for everyone to chat about our book club too.
Yes, I'm excited. I didn't realize that the three main protagonists were teenagers still, like they're children. But if you liked it, then I have faith. I'm excited to read this.
Thank you so much for listening to Culture Club today. We hope you enjoyed. And if you did, maybe give us a little like and subscribe and review over on Spotify and Apple. And we are also on YouTube.
Thank you so much. And we'll catch you very soon. Bye.
Bye.